the chemtrails and cloud seeding episode we did last week, we have to talk about HAARP. So I'm just going to dive into it. HAARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, and it's a joint project between the U.S. Air Force and Navy, located northeast of Anchorage, Alaska. And you may have heard of it before because it's the center of many conspiracy theories. And we all know what conspiracies are. They're truths that eventually come out that, the government doesn't want you to know. And this is actually why the CIA began using the term conspiracy after the JFK assassination to make people seem crazy that talked about these so called conspiracies. And it was very effective in getting people to simply laugh off conspiracy theories. But now, really, ever since 2020, I think we've seen so many proven true that people are starting to pay attention to these types of things. All right, so let's dive into HARP and the conspiracies that surround it. So, HARP is a high power radio frequency transmitter facility that's used to excite a small part of the ionosphere. And the official reason it was developed was to try and develop advanced technology for radio communications and satellites. And this facility cost over $250 million of taxpayer funds to build back in 1993. So, this is why I think it's important to know what the hell is going on with these huge budget projects, because I can only imagine how much has been spent there in the last 15 years. And they research a ton of things here, including extraterrestrial HF radar echoes, but what makes me so fascinated with HARP is that some of the main capabilities listed, like even on sites like Wikipedia, include generating low frequency radio waves and generating extremely low frequency waves in the zero point 0.1 hertz range. And Tara, like, how I geek out on this stuff with the frequencies and I put them in the subliminals I create. But one thing I do know is that low frequencies like that can be incredibly dangerous. So, more on that in a second. But in a follow up to last week's episode on weather engineering, we were just talking about like small stuff compared to the capabilities of HARP when it comes to weather modification. So, at HARP, they're producing high density plasma clouds in the Earth's upper atmosphere. So if you thought I was freaking out about cloud seeding last week, you can only imagine how I feel about this. Like, what the hell is going on in Alaska? Right? So I'm going to point out some conspiracy theories just, for entertainment purposes. And these are all listed on Wikipedia, by the way. So hopefully we don't get censored or banned for talking about this because it's right out there in the open. But in 1996, Rosalie Bertell, who was a scientist known for her work in the field of ionizing radiation, she warned that HARP would be deployed as a military weapon. And then you have Michael Chossudovsky that stated in a book published by the Committee on Monetary and Economic Reform that, quote, recent scientific evidence suggests that HARP is fully operational and has the capability of triggering floods, hurricanes, droughts, and earthquakes, end quote. Like, that's a little terrifying. And I had no idea, but I guess HARP has been blamed for major catastrophes all over the world, like the major storms in Iran, Pakistan, and Turkey, as well as power outages, Gulf War syndrome, and even chronic fatigue syndrome. So these are all new things that I didn't even know about.
Yeah, when I was doing research for this episode, I found an article from back in 2010. And this was when Venezuelan leader Hugo Chavez claimed that HARP was being used as a tectonic weapon that triggered the Haiti earthquake. And the article said, quote, President Chavez said the U.S. was playing God by testing devices capable of creating echo-type catastrophes, and the killer earthquake followed a test of weapon of earthquakes just offshore from Haiti, end quote. And of course, this theory was debunked, and the recorded cause of the Haitian earthquake of 2010 was slippage of previously unmapped fault lines. But like you said, there's evidence that this has caused multiple major catastrophes.
Well, you know what else is interesting about that Haiti earthquake? Who came to the rescue for all the little children in Haiti after that? The
That's
Hillary
right.
Clinton Foundation
Mhm.
that your boyfriend, Paul Walker, actually was researching right before he died.
Right.
So, yeah, just had to throw that in there. But I did look up low frequency effects on humans, and I once again right there on the NIH.gov website, and it flat out states that low frequencies can cause annoyance and vibrations in the body, especially excitement in the chest area, which would be like anxiety, I would think. And this paper also said that low frequencies that are used a lot in like modern music, so like the a lot of the rap songs that have like that beat, like that constant, bass in the back, that would be like low frequency. And it says that with enough exposure and intensity, it can alter the psychological and physical state, and it's in the music that people listen to every day. Like, that's great.
Yep.
It can also affect mental health and lead to reduced well-being. And there's even a research group called Castello Branco that joined the term or that coined the term vibroacoustic disease. And I guess they studied long-term exposure to low frequencies and found that several organs began to develop lesions in people that were exposed to low frequency in their occupation. So, people like military pilots and mechanical engineers. And these lesions formed in the nervous system, heart, blood vessels, lymphatics, and respiratory tissues. Like, that's insane. And that is the danger of prolonged exposure to low frequencies, according to this paper that's right on the NIH.gov website. Now, remember, HAARP using low frequencies is not a conspiracy. I mean, this is publicly listed as a main capability that they have. And so there have been many, many complaints over the years of people in various locations complaining of hearing a low frequency hum. And in fact, I see people in New York, especially, post videos all the time on TikTok of like this very annoying sound. And they say they hear it all the time. And it like literally is making people go crazy. So, now the conspiracies around HARP come from some very prominent people. So you have Nick Begich. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he was the son of late U.S. Representative Nick Begich and brother of former U.S. Senators Mark and Tom Begich. And he wrote a book that is called Angels Don't Play This Harp, which I think is such a clever title. But in this book, he made claims that HARP can create earthquakes and is also a mind control device. And I think that's interesting that someone with so many political ties that could potentially have inside knowledge on this would make these types of accusations. So, another scarier allegation was written in a Russian military journal, which said that this type of ionosphere testing could cause the Earth's magnetic poles to flip, which is terrifying. And what's interesting about that is there was a book written in 1966 by Chan Thomas called The Adam and Eve Story. And it was a fictional book about the apocalypse, which was caused by the Earth's poles shifting. So, what's interesting about this book is that the CIA banned it and classified it. And even now, with the Freedom of Information Act, they only release the book with major redactions. So, what the hell is in this like fictional book that they don't want us to know? And so now, scientists are saying that the Earth's poles do, in fact, shift and that it's happened 183 times over the last 83 million years. And apparently, we're long overdue for a pole shift. So, some are even speculating that maybe HARP is messing with that, but maybe they're trying to reverse like this event from happening that we're due to have.
You know when we're gonna find out the truth?
When?
When a Netflix movie comes out about it. Because
Um,
that's like the
yes.
precursor.
There actually is a Netflix movie, not about the poles shifting, but about up in Alaska, low frequency noises, and it kills everyone. Like everyone that works there dies from the low frequency. And the whole time I watched it, I was like, "Yep, HARP." Like that's what
That's
they're referencing.
I was totally joking right now, and yet it already exists. Like, I should not be surprised.
No.
Um, but since I'm in Europe, I often find like really interesting articles when I'm doing research. And when I typed in HARP in Google, one of the websites it took me to was the Czech military website, like their official military website. And there was an extensive article on HARP in their American weapons section of the website. And it claims, quote, officially, it is an ionospheric research program, but virtually all known facts indicate that HARP is a weapon or at least a military device, end quote. So the article goes on to say that in addition to the main HARP base in Alaska, there are smaller facilities just like it in Norway and Puerto Rico, and that some sources believe there's even more locations in the southern hemisphere, like near the South Pole. The website describes how HARP functions as a giant antenna that can be used to direct a signal to any location on Earth. And then it moves on to like more conspiracy theory issues. And it states, quote, however, that is not all. Under certain meteorological conditions, a considerable amount of electromagnetic energy can be stolen from the atmosphere, which is distributed there in an unimaginable amount thanks to the ions. If the full power of HARP is focused on a single point in the sky under the right conditions, the original signal will be amplified up to 1,000 times, which means a power of 3.6 gigawatts or 3.6 billion watts. To give you an idea, this is roughly twice the output of all hydroelectric power plants in the Czech Republic combined. Of course, the question arises, what can a wave with the energy of billions of watts be used for? The official statement speaks only of atmospheric and space research. However, only a few people believe this, end quote. So then the website dives into these different theories, like how HARP technology can be used to intercept stealth aircraft. It can create a radar map of the entire planet. It's a ballistic missile detector. It has the ability to create an anti missile umbrella shield, which sounds a lot like what we talked about a couple weeks ago with China creating a plasma shield. And then it goes into like how experts theorize that the enormous power of HARP could push electromagnetic waves not just through the air, but also through water and through solid substances. It can be used as X ray technology to search for underground shelters, deposits of raw material, and submarines. And it can monitor basically every radio communication on Earth. It talks about how HARP could be used for an EMP attack. And we've already covered how it can be used for weather modification, which the website also covers in detail. But then it goes into how HARP can be used to control the magnetosphere. Like, have you heard of the magnetosphere?
Nope. No idea
Yeah,
what that is.
me neither. But I guess it's a similar principle to an EMP attack, except that it has to do with magnetic fields instead of electrical fields. And like HARP technology can be used as a way to basically short circuit the natural magnetic fields of the earth to the point where those combined with HARP cancel each other out and cause this massive ionization that will kill any devices using the principles of electromagneticism. And then it goes on to talk about how HARP can be used to control people, kind of like you mentioned earlier. And I'm just going to read this part directly from the website. The guy writes, quote, I was hesitant to even list this item because it already reeks of conspiracy theory. Finally, I decided to mention it. The fact is, during the Cold War, both the Soviets and the Americans worked intensively on influencing the human mind using drugs, electric shocks, and radio waves. In theory, HARP could affect people's behavior with waves at frequencies corresponding to the frequencies of the human brain, even over a relatively large area. End quote. And then he links an article on brainwaves, which we've already talked about. But this is from a foreign government military website. So clearly that shows to me that other countries are concerned about what the fuck America is up to with HARP.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, it's not a conspiracy when other governments are like, yeah, this is probably a thing that they're doing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like there's no telling what we don't know about. This is just speculation. I mean, who knows how far they're going? So crazy. Wow. Well, the Alaska state legislator and European Parliament have cited environmental concerns over HARP. And then you have ex Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura that thinks that the government is using the site to manipulate the weather and bombard the masses with mind controlling radio waves. Like these are credible people, a lot of different people that are saying this that all have ties to the government. It's like we
Yeah.
need to pay attention to that. And even physicist Bernard Eastland says that HAARP has technology that he patented that could change the weather and neutralize satellites. So it's like, once I got through looking at all this, I'm like, this really isn't just some TikTok conspiracy. Like, there are very credible people making these claims,
Yeah.
and we just haven't been, informed on it, but we should be because our taxpayer dollars are funding this facility. So it's just like, enough is enough. Like, we need some answers on this. So anyhow, if you guys want to have some fun with this one over the weekend, just type in HAARP and it's HAARP on TikTok. And that way you'll see like all these videos because there's videos that people post from all over the world that show like very strange clouds. There's earthquakes like in Africa, the continent is literally dividing because of that massive earthquake that they had. And then there's noises. People post these noises that come out of nowhere and they say are there all the time and like driving people crazy, and they're all blaming HARP for this stuff. So if nothing else, it's like entertaining, but there's got to be something like linking all these events together, and it's just leaves me feeling uneasy.
Yeah, and maybe I shouldn't even use the term harp in the title of the episode because what happened last week with our
Yeah, that's right. We should tell everyone about that. So our
Yeah.
cloud seeding like chemtrail episode, we had chemtrails in the title, and then Apple like was censoring it or shadow banning it or something because it's like it was there but you couldn't see it like on the
Yeah.
Apple device, and you had to like log out or something and
Mhm. 3 people
re-download
I
it.
Yeah, 3 people I know that listen to the podcast had to, they're like, "Did you have an episode today?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I pulled it up on my own phone, I'm like, "It's not there." So, I unfollowed, logged out, logged back in, and then it showed up, and the same thing happened to other people, and the same thing happened to you.
Yeah.
So,
But it was on
not a cons
Spotify. So it's like, not everyone is censoring it, but Apple definitely there was something going on there. So yeah, maybe we shouldn't put it in the title because that's probably one of those keywords. We're probably on like so many FBI and CIA lists at this point.
Yes.
Harp's probably listening to us right now. Hey guys.
Yeah, we're on to you.
Well, I hope everyone had fun with this conspiracy, and yeah, we'll have some more coming for for you soon. I love talking about these episodes, but everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you back.